Josh Funder is the CEO and Managing Director of Household Capital, and he joins me this evening on Money News. Josh, welcome to the show.
Deb, thanks for having me.
So the goalposts, they're always changing for how we need to stretch our money, particularly with the cost of living crunch hitting as hard as it is. How different is retirement? Is that in the same kettle of fish?
Oh, Deb, goalpost changing in retirement is on steroids because the big goalpost is Australians live a long time. And nobody in human history has lived as long as the baby boomers. So Australian baby boomers have these goalposts that keep going over the horizon in terms of how long they're going to live. And then how do they fund those retirements? So a couple today at 65, 67 need to plan on one of them living more than 25 years, going right through to 90. And so that's the big goalpost. And at a national level, how does a country get the right housing mix, the right funding mix, and also have a vibrant ageing economy? So those goalposts are the big ones, and that's where I think the conversation has to be about how do we help Australian retirees navigate that uncertainty, but also take control of their lives and access their wealth.
Because that's the big question that everyone ponders. Do I have enough to retire on comfortably? And comfortably is, a term that can apply very differently from one person to the other. And it's a question that there really isn't a definitive answer to, is there?
How long will I live, and do I have enough to live that long?
Yes.
Big answers. And there was all sorts of stats around what an adequate retirement needs in terms of money every year as an income, a replacement rate to the income you had when you were working, or as a pot of money in superannuation. So a lot of people would say that an adequate retirement, a comfortable lifestyle, takes over $600,000 in superannuation to fund a retirement for that length of time. And there are very few Australians that have that sort of money.
That's right.
In the current generation, because our boomers got 3% super halfway through their working lives. And it's also a lot worse for women because they're going to live longer and they got less super. They were underpaid and they're in and out of the workforce.
So they just don't have that pot of money.
Let's put ourselves in the shoes of an Australian woman who's 67 and looking out at a very long life, great health, so we can celebrate that. Now, the big thing that we can try and pivot off and provide some certainty around is Australian retirees are the wealthiest retirees in the world.
Is that right?
At a median level. So we've got the most egalitarian spread of wealth. Now, I'm excluding Luxembourg here. They don't count.
Okay. They're the outlier.
European principalities don't count, right?
Right.
That's a whole tax issue. But of the genuine nations, Australians are the wealthiest retirees in the world. So firstly, congratulations. They've been savvy, worked hard, and they've got wealth. Part of that wealth is in their super, but only part. Median superannuation for retirees, for couples, still around $200,000. Pretty modest. And that doesn't get you far down 25 years of retirement.
So does the pension then come into the equation?
We've got a pension, and most retirees would like to think they're not going to rely on the pension, but most retirees are. 80% of retirees end up on the part or full pension. So it's a hugely important part of planning, and it's means tested, but that also means it's more adequate for those who need it. Mm-hmm. And long term, you'll know the stats, the Australian pension's only going to consume 2.5% of GDP. Now, most European countries on a fixed pension, a not means tested, a defined benefit pension, would kill to have that sort of sustainable pension.
So are more Australians retiring thinking that the pension will be the safety net for them? Is that sort of there in the background?
No. Currently, most Australian retirees very much value the pension. And at the start of retirement, there's only 60% or so who are on the part pension. But as you get older and as your assets go away and diminish, more and more people end up on the part or full pension. So at retirement, most people think super will be a part of their retirement planning, but it's only going to be a small part because it's only a small part of their assets. They know the pension has to play a role, but they don't know just how much of a role it's going to play over 20 years. But what they really don't know about, and what I think is really what we should make sure as a nation we've got awareness of wealth for retirees and access to it, is that median wealth in the home equity, at retirement for Australians is over $900,000 in our capital cities. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of a female retiree. She owns her own home. She's got less than $200,000 in super, and she's got the pension. She's going to live for 25 years. Now that works well because you've got housing in your home and you can now access part of the wealth in your home. You can more than double your superannuation by accessing your home at 65.
Because that's the question. A lot of Australians asset rich but income poor, and unlocking that is the question that a lot of people are unsure about.
That's right. And so historically around the world and in Australia, the only way people did that was with a old school reverse mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some problems with that have been regulated away, that have been fixed and have changed, but nobody's aware of them. So it used to be that a bank would provide a reverse mortgage as a last resort. Now people access the wealth in the home as a long-term planning tool. So it's a very different approach. It's needs-based, it's long-term, it's strategic, it's with real confidence. It's not a last resort. Next thing, people were worried, rightly, that they might lose their home. The old contracts weren't regulated. And now Australia guarantees home occupancy for as long as you want. So there's no way a bank or a provider can evict you, can foreclose, or can have recourse against the home. So it's a hugely protected product, and there's been no material breach of that in over a decade. So Australia now has the best regulated, most consumer-friendly way that people can access their wealth, but most people don't know about it. So the Australian government also leads the way in a policy approach. It's said in the Retirement Income Review that Australians should think about their retirement with three main pillars: the government pension, compulsory savings like superannuation, but that's not there enough for boomers,
Sure.
and private assets, but mostly that's home ownership. And so Australia is the first country in the world to say, look, there are three major parts of wealth: the home, super and the pension.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens to be that Australians should be congratulated for being the wealthiest across all three. But now the challenge is, how do we get people access to all three pillars of their retirement funding now and in the future?
So overall, do we need more education so that those who are heading towards retirement are better prepared for the reality of what they're facing?
Well, Deb, whenever anybody says you need more education and you've just finished working life and you're retired, people don't want more education, but we do need a couple of key things.
More awareness.
Awareness, that's right. And what I say is, if you've got your skills early in life, formed a family, partnered up, if you've bought a house, if you've kept a job, if you've paid your super, and you've paid your mortgage, you have all the expertise you need, because for 40 years you've built wealth. You've paid your taxes for the pension, you've contributed to your super, you've paid your home down, but you've built a family, you've built a community.
Yeah.
Now, that is all you need in terms of skills and financial management to draw on that wealth across all three parts of your wealth for the next 25 years of your life. We do need awareness, and we need to help that awareness unlock for people access to their wealth responsibly.